students. I'm Instructor Cox. And in this week, week 2, you're getting into the nitty-gritty, so to speak, of what your course is all about. Now, we've already talked about nature and nurture, and it kind of gives you a feeling for how we as individuals develop our personality and how we handle life and why we handle life, as you've already seen in the specific ways that we do. Now, stress. Stress is quite an animal, and it's also going to be the topic of your final project in this course. I want to try to help you understand stress in maybe a way that goes a little bit further than your text does. However, be sure to use your text and any other materials that you wish, but maybe you can take some notes on this and help yourself out a little bit. The human body has 2 ways of dealing with everyday stressors, and it affects our bodies in 2 different ways. One way we call homeostasis. Homeostasis is the normal, everyday handling of stress. Our body looks at the things that are stressing us, and it's able to balance those stressors and help us to cope. We make adjustments. The body is allows us to make adjustments, or makes those adjustments on its own, and to arrive at a thing called homeostasis. Now, on the other hand, there's a thing that we call allostasis, which is the exact opposite, but related to homeostasis. Allostasis is the accumulation of stress in our bodies. The stressors from life, the stressors from our home, the stressors from our schoolwork, our social stressors, all of these combine, and they tend to accumulate in our bodies. And it can become very, very dangerous, of course. These require the human body to change. It's required to change, whereas homeostasis makes that change automatically. In bringing in nature and nurture from last week, these changes and how stress is handled all depends on nature and nurture. How we were, as individuals, were genetically put together, as how individuals, we in our environment, we learn to react to handle stressors. Now, this was all, these stress is all affected by the major events in life and trauma and abuse or whatever that are the real serious, hardcore stressors in life, and it all works to bring about a behavioral response within us. Now, those behavioral responses, they can be on a wide gamut of things, anywhere from overeating. They might be spending spree to make ourselves feel better. They could be getting into drugs and alcohol. It could be a lot of different things, and even all the way up to, unfortunately, suicide. Now, in leaving these out, we go next around to, let's look at this as a circle. We look at the stressors leading to a behavioral response, then leading to the physiological responses of how our body reacts. And the behavioral responses are either going to be a fight or flight, as you've learned in early psychology, or they're going to go on down into some more serious physiological responses, what the body will do. And that's when we go into, if our body doesn't reach the homeostasis, our body will go into the allostatic part of handling stress, and this is when trouble comes about. Now, however, in allostatic stress, we will still adapt. The body will still adapt, but it will adapt a little bit differently. Excuse me. Now, there are 2 types of allostatic stress. In type 1, the energy levels that we require from ourselves to handle stress are outstripped by the energy levels that we are actually able to supply. And at that time, people tend to go into the survival mode. And this is when it gets really dangerous. Now, there's a type 2 of allostatic the things. And this is when our system has enough energy to handle it, but we tend to require more and more and more energy as new and new and new stressors accumulate in our system to still handle it. But it requires more and more and more stress. Like, for instance, in your own lives, all of you, I'm sure, have a family. You're going to school. Most of you work. And you have a lot of other stressors that you're having to deal with. And your body has to come up with more and more and more energy to handle this. And this is type 2 of allostatic stress. As we have said, the stress is handled in different ways in this allostatic type 2 stress mode. However, even though it sounds bad, a lot of us handle stress as a positive force. And in this type 2 allostatic mode, a lot of people will take the stress and they will psychologically turn it to a positive force where they can get a lot of things done. You've heard of the person who says, I work better under stress. Allostatic type 2 stress is exactly what that is. Now, remember that homeostasis refers to staying the same, staying level, remaining stable while you're doing whatever it is that you do. While allostatic stress implies change, having to change in some way physiologically. You're remaining stable, excuse me, that's remaining stable even though you're going through changes. And that is the difference between homeostasis and allostasis. Now remember, if you have any questions, I want you to call me. You're welcome to call me anytime you want. I'll be keeping you informed and giving you more information as the weeks go by. Thank you very much, and I hope you've gotten some good information from this little video.